I traveled miles to surprise my best friend, carrying gifts and memories, but when I arrived he acted like I was just another guest, and that was the day I understood that some people outgrow even when still hold them close. I need to get this out before it eats me alive. This happened 3 months ago and I still wake at 3 am replaying every single moment. Every decision, every lie I told. My name's Jake and I destroyed the most important friendship of mine cause I couldn't handle being left behind. Marcus and I were inseparable since middle school. Same classes, same hobbies, same dreams. We promised we'd be best men at each other's weddings. We had this running joke that we'd be those old guys sitting on a porch somewhere, still cracking the same jokes we made when we were 15. Then college happened. He got into MIT. I went to community college 2 towns over. At first nothing changed, we texted constantly, video calls every weekend. He'd come home for breaks and it was like no time had passed. But slowly, so slowly I didn't notice at first the gaps got longer. The calls got shorter. His stories were filled with names I didn't recognize, inside jokes I wasn't part of, experiences I couldn't relate to. I told it was temporary, that when he graduated things would go back to normal. They didn't. He got a job in Silicon Valley. Started dating this girl Emma who worked at Google. His Instagram became this perfect highlight reel of tech conferences, fancy restaurants, weekend trips to Napa Valley. Meanwhile, I was still living with my parents, working at the same auto shop I'd been at since high school, watching my best friends through a screen like some pathetic. The breaking point came last November. His birthday was coming, the big 2-5, and he mentioned in passing during one of our increasingly rare calls that Emma was throwing him a party. Just a small thing, he said, close friends only. I wasn't invited, not directly uninvited, just forgotten. Like I was already a ghost in his and he didn't even realize it. That's when I made the decision that would everything. I decided to surprise him. Show unannounced with all the gifts I'd been collecting over the months. Photos from our high school adventures, the lucky coin we used to flip for everything, a custom playlist of all the songs we used to blast in his dad's car. I thought if I could just remind him of who we used to be, I could pull him back to me. I drove 8 hours to San Francisco. Spent money I didn't have on gas and a cheap hotel room. Practiced what I'd say in the mirror like some desperate ex-boyfriend trying to win back a lost love. The party was at Emma's apartment in Somé. One of those modern places with floor-to-ceiling windows and minimalist furniture that probably cost more than I made in 3 months. I could hear the ladder of music from the hallway, voices I didn't recognize discussing things I didn't understand. I knocked. Marcus opened the door, and for a split second his face went completely blank. Not happy, surprised. Not angry, surprised. Just confused, like he was trying to place where he knew me from. Jake, he said, and I swear there was a question mark in his voice. What are doing here? Not oh my god, Jake. No, I can't believe came. Just confusion. Like I was a pizza delivery guy who'd shown at the wrong address. Surprise, I said, holding the bag of gifts, trying to inject enthusiasm into a moment that was already dying. I drove for birthday man, couldn't miss the big 2-5. He looked over his shoulder at the party behind him. His friends, his real friends, were all there. People in expensive clothes talking about startups and venture capital and weekend ski trips to Tahoe. I could see Emma in the kitchen, gorgeous in that effortless way that comes with having money and education, and that makes sense. That's wow. That's really something. Marcus said, and those words hit me like a physical. The polite distance in his voice. The way he said it like I'd done something embarrassing instead of something touching. But he let me in, introduced me around. This is Jake, my friend from back home. Not my best friend, not my oldest friend, just Jake, from back home, like I was a relic from he'd moved beyond. I spent 2 hours at that party feeling like a. These people were talking about IPOs and machine learning and their upcoming trips to Japan. I had nothing to contribute except stories about high school that made Marcus wince with secondhand embarrassment. When I gave him the gifts, he smiled that polite smile give aunt when she knits another sweater. He thanked me, but I could see it in his eyes. I wasn't bringing back fond memories. I was reminding him of who he used to be, and he didn't want to be that person anymore. The final nail came when someone asked how we knew each other. Marcus paused, just for a second, but long enough for me to notice. We went to high school together, he said. Went to high school together, like we were casual acquaintances who happened to share a few classes. Not best friends who spent every weekend together for 6 years. Not the guys who promised to be each other's best men. Just 2 people who went to high school together. I left early. Made some excuse about the long drive back. Marcus walked me to the door, and I could tell he was relieved. Thanks for coming, he said. Was good to see. Past tense, like he was already moving on from my visit before I'd even left. I drove 8 hours home in complete silence. No music, no podcast, just the sound of my own breathing and the realization that I had lost my best friend not through any dramatic or betrayal, but through the simple, brutal process of growing apart. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was what I did 3 weeks later when the loneliness became too much to bear. When I convinced that if I couldn't have my best friend back, maybe I could at least him the way he'd me. The worst part was when I decided to message Emma. I can't believe I'm writing this 3 months later and I still can't believe how pathetic I became. How vindictive. How willing I was to everything down just because my feelings were. After that disaster of a birthday party, I spent weeks obsessing over it, replaying every interaction. Every polite smile from Marcus. Every time he redirected conversations away from our shared past. I kept checking his social media like watching him live this perfect without me in it. Emma posted pictures from the party. All these happy, successful people laughing at inside jokes I'd never understand. Marcus had his arm around her in every, looking genuinely happy in a way I hadn't seen since high school. That's when the really set in. I started telling stories. Maybe Emma was the problem. Maybe she was the one pulling him away from his real friends. Maybe if I could just show her what kind of person Marcus really was, she'd see through the Silicon Valley facade. But that wasn't really it, was it? I wasn't trying to save Marcus from some manipulative girlfriend. I was jealous. Pure jealousy that ate at me every single day. So I did the unthinkable. I found Emma on Instagram and sent her a message. Not right away. I'm not that impulsive. I spent 2 weeks crafting it, editing it, convincing I was doing the right thing, that I was being a good friend by warning her about Marcus. The message was long. rambling, full of barely disguised resentment dressed as concern. I told her about Marcus in high school, how he used to cheat on tests, how he'd lied to his parents about where he was going on weekends, how he'd hooked with Sarah Chen while he was dating Michelle Rodriguez, and how he'd bragged about it afterward. All true stories, all things that happened when we were 16 and 17. All things that had nothing to do with the man he'd become. But I didn't frame it that way. I framed it like these were recent revelations, like I was this concerned friend who just wanted her to know what she was getting into. The worst part. I added this line at the end. I just think deserve to know who really dating. As someone who cares about both of, I felt like I had to say something. Someone who cares about both of, I didn't even know Emma, had met her exactly once for maybe 10 minutes at that party, but I sat there typing those words like I was some noble whistleblower instead of a bitter ex-friend trying his former best friend's relationship out of spite. Emma didn't respond right away. For 3 days, I checked my phone obsessively. Part of me hoped she'd just ignore it. Part of me hoped she'd see right through what I was doing and block me. She didn't do either. Instead, she forwarded the message to Marcus, with a note that said, "Friend Jake sent me this. I think need to see it." Marcus called me at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was lying in bed scrolling through job postings I'd never applied to, when my phone lit with his name. I almost didn't answer, almost let it go to voicemail and pretended I was asleep, but some masochistic part of me needed to hear his voice, needed to know what he thought of what I'd done. Jake. His voice was flat, cold in a way I'd never heard before. What that is wrong with? I tried to play. Asked what he was talking about. But my voice cracked on the second word and we both knew I was lying. Messaged my girlfriend. It wasn't a question. Sent her a bunch of stories from high school and tried to make her think I'm some kind of cheater. What is wrong with? The silence stretched between us. I could have apologized right then. Could have admitted that I was lonely and had done something incredibly. Could have owned to my jealousy and maybe, salvaged something from the wreckage. Instead I doubled down. I was trying to look out for her. I said, she deserves to know what kind of person she's dating. What kind of person I'm dating. His voice got louder. Jake, those stories are from 8 years ago. We were kids. And are acting like I'm some serial cheater because I made some mistakes in high school. People don't change, Marcus. People don't change, but there was no humor in it. Jesus, Jake. Listen to, drove 8 hours to crash my birthday party uninvited, and now messaging my girlfriend with gossip from when we were teenagers. Maybe you're right. Maybe people don't change, because they're still acting like the same insecure, jealous person we're in high school. That hit like a physical, because he was right and we both knew it. I'm not jealous, I lied. Then what is this? What are trying to accomplish here? I didn't have an answer. I had an answer but couldn't say it out loud. I was trying to him. I was trying to take something away from him because he'd taken something away from me. Even though what he'd taken was just his own attention and affection. Emma showed me the message Jake. She was actually worried about. She asked if we're okay, if something had happened to make act like this, and know what I told her. I didn't want to know but I asked anyway. I told her used to be my best friend. That we're a good person who was probably just going through something tough. I defended, even after tried to sabotage my relationship I was still making excuses for. The word, were, hung in the air between us. Used to be my best friend, past tense, final, but I was wrong, he continued. The Jake I knew would never do something like this. The Jake I knew would be happy for me, even if we'd grown apart. The Jake I knew wouldn't try to destroy something good in my just because he felt left out. I wanted to argue. Wanted to tell him he was wrong that I was still that person. But the words wouldn't come because they wouldn't be true. Don't contact Emma again, he said. Don't contact me again. We're done Jake. We're done. The line went dead. I sat there in my childhood bedroom holding a silent phone and realized I had just lost the most important person in my over my own petty jealousy and wounded pride. But even then, even knowing how badly part of me was still angry at him. Still felt like he was the one who'd abandoned our friendship first. Still felt like I was the victim in all of this. I had no idea how much worse it was about to get. I thought losing Marcus was rock bottom. I was so naive. The real consequences didn't start until Emma decided to do some digging of her own. See, when send someone a message full of accusations about their boyfriend, they don't just take word for it. Emma was smart, successful, the kind of person who checks things before making decisions. So she reached out to people from our high school, found Sarah Chen on LinkedIn, found Michelle Rodriguez on Facebook, asked them about the stories I told. Turns out both of them remembered me, not fondly. Sarah told Emma the truth about what really happened junior year. Yes, Marcus had her at a party while he was dating Michelle. But I was the one who encouraged it. I was the one who kept buying them drinks. I was the one who told Marcus that Michelle was probably cheating on him anyway, so what did it matter? And afterward, when Marcus felt guilty and wanted to confess to Michelle, I was the one who talked him out of it, told him it would only her. That it was better to keep it secret. Michelle remembered too. She told Emma how I used to flirt with her when Marcus wasn't around, how I'd make comments about how Marcus didn't appreciate her, how I was always trying to plant seeds of doubt in her mind about their relationship. Emma shared all of this with Marcus, and Marcus, who apparently had a better memory than I'd given him credit for, started connecting dots. He remembered how I'd always been jealous of his other friendships. How I'd find ways to sabotage plans when he wanted to out with other people. How I'd spread rumors about guys who got too close to him. How I'd made his smaller and smaller until I was the only person left in it. That's when Emma made a decision that changed everything. She posted about it, not on her personal accounts, on Twitter. A thread about friendships and manipulative behavior that went viral in ways I never could have imagined. She didn't use my name. But she didn't need to. She had screenshots of my message. She had the stories from Sarah and Michelle. She painted a picture of someone so possessive and jealous that they'd try to destroy their former, best friend's relationship over their own wounded ego. The thread got picked by local news, then national news. Then it became this whole case study about male friendship toxicity and emotional manipulation. My friends from home saw it, recognized the details, started putting pieces together. Remember how I said Marcus and I were inseparable? that we did everything together. People started remembering how that actually looked. How I'd get angry when Marcus made other friends. How I'd always find excuses for why we couldn't out with certain people. How I'd been controlling and possessive in ways they'd been too polite to call out at the time. The story spread through our hometown like wildfire. My coworkers at the auto shop found it, my managers, my few remaining friends who hadn't already grown tired of my constant complaining about being left behind. I became the cautionary tale, the warning sign, the example people used when talking about masculinity and unhealthy attachments. My mom found out when her book club friend showed her the article on her phone. Isn't this about Jake and that Marcus boy? I'll never forget the look on her face when she realized it was true. The disappointment, the shame, the way she said "oh Jakey" like she was mourning someone who'd already died. I lost my job. Not officially for the viral story, but because suddenly I was making customers uncomfortable. And my attitude wasn't a good fit for the team environment. I lost my remaining friends. The few people who'd still hung out with me despite my constant negativity decided they didn't want to be associated with someone capable of what I'd done. I couldn't go anywhere in town without feeling people's stares, hearing whispers, seeing the recognition in their eyes followed by the disgust. The worst part was the comments on Emma's thread. Thousands of them. People sharing their own stories of friends. People talking about how they recognized the pattern of behavior. People using me as the example of what not to be. This is exactly what my ex-friend did to me. Classic manipulative behavior. Good for her for exposing him. Men like this are dangerous. They think they're entitled to other people's love and attention. I hope this guy gets the help he needs, but I'm glad his friend escaped. They weren't wrong. That's the thing that makes it so much worse. Every single comment was accurate. I was manipulative. I was possessive. I had spent years thinking I was the victim of other people's success and growth, when really I was the anchor trying to drag them down with me. Marcus never responded to any of it publicly. Never added his own story to the pile. But he didn't need to. Emma had said everything that needed saying. I tried reaching out to him one last time. Sent an email 3 months after everything exploded. A real apology this time, no excuses, no justifications. Just owning to what I'd done and asking for forgiveness I knew I didn't deserve. The email bounced back. He'd blocked me, completely. Permanently. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he and Emma got engaged 6 months later. The wedding was last month. Beautiful ceremony in Napa Valley, according to the photos that made their way back to me through the small town gossip network that now treated me like a pariah. All our old friends were there. The ones who'd managed to stay in touch with him over the years. The ones who'd grown and moved on and built lives worth celebrating. I wasn't invited. Obviously, I spent that weekend alone in my apartment, scrolling through social media posts from people who used to know me, watching them celebrate a love that might have survived if I'd been capable of being a real friend, instead of a possessive, jealous parasite. I see a therapist now. Finally. She says I have abandonment issues stemming from childhood trauma. Says I never learned healthy attachment patterns. Says there's hope for growth and change if I'm willing to do the work. Maybe she's right. Maybe I can become a better person. Maybe someday I'll be capable of genuine friendship without the of jealousy and control. But it doesn't matter for Marcus. That bridge isn't just burned, it's incinerated, scattered to the wind. There's no coming back from what I did, no redemption arc that leads to forgiveness. He's living his best in San Francisco with the woman he loves, surrounded by friends who actually care about his happiness. He's probably forgotten I exist, except as a cautionary tale he might tell at dinner parties about people he used to know. And I'm here still in the same town, still working dead-end jobs, still alone with the consequences of my own choices. The hardest part isn't the loneliness, though that's crushing. It's not the public shame, though that follows me everywhere. It's not even the loss of the friendship, though that cuts deeper than anything else. The hardest part is knowing that I did this too. That I choose jealousy over joy. That I chose possession over love. That I chose to be the kind of person who tries to tear down other people's happiness rather than build my own. The hardest part is looking in the mirror and seeing exactly the kind of man I swore I'd never become. I post this not looking for sympathy or forgiveness or second chances. I post it as a warning, as a cautionary tale, as proof that the choices made when jealous and feeling left behind can destroy not just relationships, but entire. If you're reading this and recognize in my story, please stop. Please get help. Please choose to be better before become the villain in someone else's. Because once cross that line, once become the cautionary tale, there's no going back.